There's a peculiar moment that arrives in every life, sometimes with thunderous clarity, other times as quiet as a whisper. It comes after countless nights of restless planning, after the endless striving, after you've pushed against every door that refuses to open. You've been trying so hard, haven't you? Working, planning, visualizing, affirming, meditating, journaling, networking, hustling, and yet, the needle barely moves. You look up, exhausted, and ask, why isn't anything changing? Here's the liberating paradox. You've been attempting to force alignment with clenched hands. But the universe doesn't respond to force. It responds to openness. As Kierkegaard once observed, anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Your anxiety to control outcomes is precisely what blocks them from materializing. While your words have been claiming abundance, your energy has been screaming scarcity. I don't have enough. I'm running out of time. I'm falling behind. I'm not there yet. And here's the truth. The world responds to your energetic state, not your verbal declarations. That's why your efforts don't bear fruit. Not because you're inadequate, not because you're undeserving, but because you're caught in the grip of control, trying to command what was never yours to direct. You don't attract what you chase. You attract what you embody. And when your entire identity is constructed around pursuing, fixing, and proving, your reality becomes a mirror of that very incompleteness. What if I told you this? The most powerful move available to you right now is to stop. Stop grasping, stop forcing, stop proving. Not from desperation, but from wisdom. Not from weakness, but from strength. Because when the doing subsides, the becoming emerges. When the external noise quiets, the internal wisdom speaks. And when you finally stop interfering, your natural state of wholeness reveals itself. This isn't about abandoning your path. This is about trusting the journey. Let go, and watch what unfolds. Chapter 1. The Exhaustion of Pursuit. We've inherited a dangerous belief that fulfillment comes through relentless pursuit, that happiness is the result of ceaseless striving, that if you just work harder, move faster, and sacrifice more, eventually what you desire will fall into your grasp. But the ancient philosophers didn't teach us to chase dreams. They taught us to examine our motivations, to ask, why am I pursuing this particular thing? Because often, what you're chasing isn't what you truly desire. It's merely a symbolic substitute for a deeper need. When you frantically seek relationship after relationship, is it truly about love? Or is it about healing the wound of rejection that still throbs? When you obsess over achievement and recognition, is it really about the work itself? Or are you still trying to prove your worth to those who once made you feel insignificant? The wisdom of philosophy isn't in motivation techniques. It's in the courage of self-examination. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." If you don't bring your unconscious motivations into awareness, they will direct your actions while you remain blind to their influence. So you continue pursuing external goals, believing they'll complete you. But life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. And if who you are is fragmented, hungry, and desperate, then every achievement will slip through your fingers or arrive feeling hollow. Because the energy behind your pursuit is broadcasting, I am insufficient. I am incomplete. I need this to feel whole. And the universe, in its perfect reflection, agrees. You're right. You don't have it. This explains why people exhaust themselves chasing promotions that don't satisfy, accumulating possessions that don't fulfill, and seeking validation that never lasts. Not because the goal itself is wrong, but because the self pursuing it is wounded. The obsession was never about the thing itself. It was about what you believed that thing would heal within you. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you received everything you wanted right now, in your current state of consciousness, you wouldn't be able to sustain it. Your hands are still trembling with old fears. The philosophers weren't interested in helping you manifest from a place of lack. They wanted to guide you toward wholeness, to stop chasing external solutions and start facing the internal questions. I'm not chasing success. I'm chasing self-acceptance. Here is your turning point. Before asking the universe for more, ask yourself what part still feels incomplete. Because once you heal that space, you'll stop pursuing what was never meant for you and start attracting what was always yours. This isn't about abandoning your aspirations. It's about purifying your intentions. That's when resistance dissolves. That's when the universe responds. Now you're ready. You're not here to chase fulfillment. You're here to embody it. And embodiment begins in stillness. Chapter 2. True detachment. Let go, not as an admission of defeat. Not because you've given up on what matters to you, but because you've finally awakened to the truth. I was never meant to control outcomes. I was meant to align with what is. Detachment isn't indifference. It's not pretending nothing matters. It's reclaiming your energy from places it never belonged in the first place. It's the quiet confidence that says, I've done what I can. Now I release what I can't. The great thinkers understood that transformation doesn't happen through force. It happens through surrender, not passive resignation, but active acceptance. You can't pretend to be detached. You can't scroll through social media muttering, I don't care anymore, while checking for updates every few minutes. Your conscious mind doesn't determine your reality. Your energetic state does. And if your energy still communicates, I need this to feel complete, then life will continue showing you all the ways you aren't. Detachment isn't the absence of desire. It's the absence of dependency. It's the inner knowing that declares, even if this never materializes, I remain whole. And here lies the paradox. When your energy finally aligns with that truth, that's when everything begins to shift. Not because you demanded it, but because you're no longer resisting it. Life responds to those who are already complete, not those desperate to be completed. So if you're caught in the web of waiting, hoping, and checking, pause. Not to distract yourself, but to inquire, what part of me still believes this one thing will solve everything? The aspect of you waiting for validation, for success, for the perfect relationship, that part doesn't need achieving. It needs witnessing. Not by others, not by achievements, but by you. Because the moment you truly see yourself, without judgment, without shame, you stop seeking external mirrors and become your own reflection. That's where the real transformation begins. No more pursuing, no more pleading, no more proving. Just being. Fully, powerfully, authentically you. Chapter 3. Embracing the void. After you finally release your grip, after the struggle, the obsession, the desperate reaching subsides, something unexpected occurs. Nothing. No immediate sign. No instant reward. No dramatic breakthrough. Just silence. You wake up and the world appears unchanged. Your circumstances haven't shifted. The opportunity hasn't arrived. The clarity hasn't emerged. And the voice of doubt whispers, was any of this worth it? This is the moment where most people break. Because we've been conditioned to expect that if we let go, something better will instantly take its place. But the universe doesn't operate on our schedule. It moves according to deeper patterns. And before it delivers what you've asked for, it observes who you become in the waiting. So here you stand in the void. That unsettling space where what was has dissolved, but what will be hasn't yet taken form. This space is disorienting because there's no roadmap, no external validation, no clear feedback to confirm you're moving in the right direction. Just you, your thoughts, and the deafening quiet that demands you trust what you cannot yet see. Philosophers have called this space creative emptiness. Heidegger spoke of it as the clearing, the open space where new possibilities emerge. In all absence, presence is revealed. In all uncertainty, truth awaits discovery. What appears as nothing happening externally is actually profound reorganization internally. Your consciousness isn't stagnant. It's evolving. Old patterns are dissolving. New awareness is emerging. Your entire being is recalibrating to receive what you once begged for. But here's the trap. Because you can't see this process unfolding, impatience tells you it isn't working. And if you believe that deception, you'll interrupt everything that was silently forming behind the scenes. The void isn't punishment. It's preparation. It strips away everything you were depending on: external validation, illusions of control, attachment to specific outcomes, until all that remains is your essence. And when you reach that state where you stop chasing and start being, the universe responds. Because energy never deceives. You can create vision boards, repeat affirmations, and practice visualization techniques all day. But if your energy still communicates, "I'm afraid it won't happen," then life mirrors that fear. The void is where you're invited to embody the outcome before it physically manifests. Can you feel fulfilled before circumstances change? Can you feel abundant before financial increase? Can you feel peaceful before external conditions shift? Because if you can, you transcend time. You transform waiting into becoming. You turn emptiness into magnetism. You become the vibration of your desire. And life naturally responds to that resonance. But first, you must endure the test. The silence, the uncertainty, the uncomfortable gap where you feel as though nothing is happening, when in truth, everything is. So if you find yourself in that void right now, hold steady. Don't rush, don't fix, don't panic. Breathe, center, listen. Because once you master this sacred stillness, once you stop demanding proof and start embodying presence, life begins to move again. But this time, it moves with you, not against you. Chapter 4. The Wisdom of Integration. Every desire you experience isn't random. It's not punishment. It's not the universe tantalizing you with what you cannot have. It's a message, a mirror, an invitation to growth. The great philosophers understood this profoundly. They taught that every desire signals not something to pursue externally, but something to awaken internally. You don't desire financial abundance merely to be wealthy. You desire the freedom it represents. You don't desire relationship merely for companionship. You desire the connection it promises. You don't desire achievement merely for recognition. You desire the validation it symbolizes. The desire itself isn't the problem. The unconscious attachment beneath it is, and this is precisely where most people become trapped. They obsess. They mistake yearning for action. They check emails compulsively. They overanalyze every interaction. They interpret every coincidence as a sign. And they call this manifestation. But the philosophical tradition, particularly the path of self-knowledge, taught something different. The goal isn't perfection. It's integration. And integration doesn't come from fixating on what's missing. It comes from embracing what you've disowned. Your strength and vulnerability. Your certainty and doubt. Your light and shadow. Even the parts you've been reluctant to acknowledge. Because when you finally hold both your power and your imperfection, you stop needing life to complete you. You become complete on your own terms. Let this truth sink in. You don't attract what you obsess over. You attract what you've made peace with. So the next time you feel compelled to chase, pause. Not out of laziness, but out of wisdom. Take a breath, close your eyes, and ask, what part of me still believes this achievement will define my worth? Because when you recognize you are already whole, not missing anything, not broken, not behind, something remarkable happens. The obsession dissolves, and in its place emerges clarity, calm, and authentic attraction. You stop needing external validation to confirm your value. And paradoxically, that's when the world begins responding to you differently. Because now your energy communicates, I'm already enough, I'm already complete. That's the distinction between manifesting from desperation and attracting from alignment. So yes, you could continue grasping. You could keep analyzing every sign. Or you could embrace the radical alternative. Be still, do nothing, and allow life to catch up to who you've already become. Because once the internal transformation is complete, you don't need to chase. You don't even need to ask. You simply allow. You simply receive. You simply are. Choose peace, even when it feels counterintuitive. Even when there's no evidence. Even when your conditioning insists it isn't working. Because when you choose peace over pressure, that's when reality begins to shift. That's when you're no longer just experiencing your life. You're creating it. Peace isn't passive. It's powerful. Follow it, and everything meant for you will follow you. Chapter 5. The Shadow and Wholeness. You cannot create an authentic life while embracing only the comfortable aspects of yourself. You cannot attract abundance while rejecting the parts of you that feel unworthy. Because the universe doesn't just respond to your intentions, it responds to your wholeness. And wholeness means facing the aspects of yourself you've been avoiding your entire life. The philosophical traditions named it the shadow, not evil, not darkness in any moral sense, but the disowned, the denied, the vulnerability you concealed, the anger you suppressed, the grief you ignored, the inadequacy you disguised as perfectionism. Most people believe transformation is about visualizing, affirming, and elevating your energy. But authentic transformation, lasting, grounded, soul-deep change, doesn't come from fantasy. It comes from integration. Let's be honest, when you obsess over finding the perfect relationship, it's rarely about love. It's about a wound crying out, if someone chooses me, perhaps I'll finally feel worthy. When you pursue financial success relentlessly, it's not just about ambition. It's about a core belief whispering, I'm not secure unless I have more. And here's the trap. If your aspirations are rooted in shadow, in fear, lack, trauma, and unworthiness, then what you create will reflect that fragmentation. You'll attract partners who mirror your insecurities. You'll create opportunities that disappear unexpectedly. You'll achieve goals that feel strangely empty. Why? Because you attracted them through an incomplete self. This is why philosophical self-inquiry is essential. It teaches that we must bring awareness to our blind spots, because until we do, they direct our lives while we attribute the results to circumstance. So the fundamental question isn't, how do I get more? It's, what part of me still believes I lack enough? That's where shadow work begins. And no, it isn't comfortable. It's challenging. It asks you to stop blaming conditions and start examining assumptions. To stop focusing on what hasn't happened and start questioning what part of you wasn't prepared to receive it. This isn't about blame. It's about responsibility. It's about creating space for all expressions of yourself, the confident and the insecure, the powerful and the vulnerable, and saying, you're allowed to exist. You're allowed to be seen. And you don't need to control me anymore. Because once your shadow is acknowledged, it no longer operates unconsciously. It no longer dictates decisions without your awareness. It no longer creates patterns just to get your attention. You reclaim your power. And in that reclamation, your frequency transforms. You no longer create from fear. You attract from wholeness. This isn't positive thinking. This is energetic coherence. This is nervous system regulation. This is becoming the version of yourself who no longer needs external circumstances to resolve what your awareness has already integrated. You stop forcing. You start allowing. You stop proving. You start being. Because now you're not approaching life from scarcity. You're embodying a self who already feels complete. And that inner reality is what shapes external experience. Not techniques, not tools, not tactics, but deep, grounded, authentic integration. This is the work. Not the superficial version of personal development, but the profound transformation. The work that asks you to look within and acknowledge, I've been trying to create my future without reconciling with my past. Not anymore. Now you stop avoiding. Now you turn inward. Now you face what's been quietly directing your entire life. And when you do, the illusion dissolves. Your power returns. And your life begins to reflect your wholeness, not your wounds. That is transformation. That is integration. That is freedom. Chapter 6. Removing the obstacles. Here may be the most challenging truth of all. The only thing separating you from the life you desire is you. Not your circumstances, not your past, not some external force. The great philosophers, those who delved deepest into human experience, recognized this profound reality. The most difficult thing is to see what is right in front of us. Difficult because authentic self-acceptance requires confronting aspects of yourself you've spent a lifetime avoiding. The doubt, the shame, the fear, the possibility that maybe you're not as limited as you've believed. So instead of facing inward, you fixate outward. You search for someone to validate your worth. You strive for accomplishments to prove your value. You pursue goals not from inspiration, but from the desperation to escape yourself. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Whatever you pursue to avoid facing yourself will inevitably elude you. You believe you're simply trying to create better circumstances. But unconsciously, you're using those very circumstances as a distraction from being present with who you are right now. And the universe isn't thwarting you. It's protecting you. Because it recognizes that if you received everything you're asking for in your current state of consciousness, you wouldn't be able to sustain it. A part of you still doesn't feel deserving of it. And here's the deeper insight philosophy points toward. When you haven't fully accepted yourself, you become divided. Your conscious mind affirms, I want abundance, while your unconscious counters, I'm not ready for it. Your energy becomes contradictory. A conflict between desire and doubt, an electromagnetic field that repels what it claims to attract. You become the obstacle to your own fulfillment. Not because you're flawed, but because you're operating from an outdated identity, a self-concept forged in limitation, a version shaped by past conditioning, a version taught to earn love rather than embody it. And the tragedy? Most people will spend their entire lives pursuing external changes when what they truly need is an identity shift. You don't need to do more. You need to become the version of yourself who doesn't need to prove anything. The version that already embodies what you're trying to manifest. The version that knows, I am worthy, I am ready, I am enough. Because here's the universal principle few truly understand. You don't receive what you want. You receive what you believe you are. If you feel fundamentally unworthy, even while repeating positive affirmations, you'll unconsciously sabotage every opportunity, every relationship, every blessing. Why? Because your energetic frequency contradicts your verbal intention. So if you feel stagnant right now, if progress seems elusive, it's not because the universe is ignoring you. It's because your internal state is communicating. I do not truly believe I deserve this. And the universe, in perfect reflection, mirrors that belief back to you repeatedly. Not as punishment, but as feedback. Stop blaming circumstances. Stop attributing it to bad timing. Stop asking why nothing changes, and start asking what part of you still believes suffering must precede receiving. Because the moment you shift from pursuing outcomes to evolving your self-concept, everything begins to transform. Not instantly, not magically, but organically, from within. The way genuine change always unfolds. Understand this. You are not blocked. You are not cursed. You are simply being invited to evolve to grow into the version of yourself capable of sustaining what you've been requesting, not momentarily, but permanently. And when that inner transformation occurs, you won't need to force change. You'll embody it. That isn't wishful thinking. That's alignment. That's integration. That's the power of finally and completely accepting yourself. Final chapter: the return to wholeness. Let's conclude this exploration with the deepest insight philosophy has ever whispered. A truth so profound, it doesn't merely shift perspective. It restores identity. You're not creating, you're remembering. All this time, you thought you were building something new. You believed you were attracting something external. Fulfillment, connection, purpose, peace. You've been doing everything right. The reflection, the healing, the growth work. Striving to manifest something into being. But what if the essential work wasn't about bringing something in, but uncovering what has always been there? The philosophical masters didn't teach techniques for achieving more. They revealed the path to remembering that nothing was ever missing. That everything you've been seeking represents aspects of yourself you abandoned somewhere along the way. Let this truth resonate deeply. The version of you that experiences abundance already exists. It's not a future possibility. It's your original state. But somewhere on your journey, the distractions multiplied. The world convinced you that worth must be earned, that love must be deserved, that you had to compromise your truth to belong, so you forgot. Forgot your completeness. Forgot your inherent value. Forgot your natural state of alignment. You didn't lose your essence. You simply lost awareness of it. And now, as you walk the path of awakening, you aren't constructing something new. You aren't starting from zero. You're simply removing what isn't authentically you. The fear, the proving, the perfectionism, the constant striving. All of it merely static, obscuring the clear signal of your being. The great philosophers never gave us systems to fix ourselves because they understood something profound. You don't need fixing. You need remembering. Who you truly are isn't the overthinking, anxious, insecure self you've identified with. That's the persona, the mask, a protective mechanism developed through years of forgetting your essence. Who you truly are is the awareness beneath, the consciousness that observes, the being who remembers stillness, the one who doesn't chase because they already embody, the one who doesn't grasp because they already are. And this is the final sacred insight. When you stop, when you release the grasping, striving, and manifesting from scarcity, you return to your original frequency, the one you were born with, the one that never needed proving, only remembering. That's why life aligns when you finally let go. Not because surrender is some mystical technique, but because surrender is your natural state, the state of trust, the state of being, the state where essence transcends ego, where presence supersedes effort, where alignment replaces anxiety. So if you're caught in the cycle, attempting to think your way into fulfillment, trying to force life to conform to your timeline, pause. Not because the universe opposes you, but because it's reminding you of what you've forgotten. You were never meant to beg for the life you want. You were meant to remember that it's already yours once you become the version of you who can receive it. You aren't behind. You aren't broken. You aren't lacking. You aren't manifesting. You're remembering. And now you've remembered enough. Now is the time to return to stillness, to trust, to the essence that already knows. Everything meant for me will arrive, not when I chase it, but when I become it. And in that becoming, you don't force, you don't plead, you simply allow, you simply receive, you simply are. Welcome home. If even one passage in this video resonated within you, don't let this moment pass. Don't allow this insight to dissolve into the endless stream of content you half absorb and quickly forget. Because this wasn't just information, this was recognition. A message you were meant to encounter, not by coincidence, but by alignment. Aristotle observed, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." Perhaps this video was a mirror, a reminder, a gentle nudge bringing you back to yourself. So if you felt that shift, even momentarily, share in the comments below. I release, I receive. Not for validation, not for visibility, but as a declaration to your consciousness. This time, I choose alignment over effort. I choose wholeness over fragmentation. I choose being over doing. Like this video not to boost metrics, but to anchor this awareness into your being. To affirm, this moment matters. I am transforming. Subscribe if you're finished with surface-level advice and temporary motivation. Ready instead for philosophical truths that reconstruct your understanding from within. This isn't content consumption. This is transformation. A path for those ready to remember themselves. And above all, share this video with someone who might be lost in the pursuit, chasing everything except their own essence. Because as Seneca reminded us, the greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. This is your moment to awaken, to turn attention inward, to stop seeking and start seeing. Because in a world obsessed with more, presence is revolutionary. Stillness is power. And sometimes doing nothing is the most profound act of becoming. So breathe. Be still. Remember, you're not manifesting. You're remembering. And your return begins now. If this message awakened something within you, don't stop here. The next video will guide you deeper into the journey of remembrance. It might be the very insight your soul has been awaiting. Subscribe, activate notifications, and join a community dedicated to truth, transformation, and authentic change. You're not alone on this path. I'll meet you in the next exploration where we continue becoming who we've always been.